Even diehard Squid Game fans have to admit that amidst the show's crazy twists and turns, there are some big-time plot holes and inconsistencies. From outright cheating to weird hair to contraband, here are some things that we find baffling. In the Season 1 finale, Il-nam tells Gi-hun he played the game solely because he has a terminal illness and would prefer to die there rather than out in the real world.
Feel something. Just one last time before I die.
That's fair, but there's one problem. Il-nam could have easily died playing tug of war. What if his team didn't like his strategy? Or what if they simply weren't strong enough? The outcome of the game was a total crapshoot, and Il-nam's chances of falling to his death were at least 50-50. Why would he and the other people behind the games take that risk? Sure, the terminal illness was all too real, but that still doesn't really track, particularly because of the way Il-nam exits the game with his fake death after losing at marbles, not long after tug of war. The next game up is marbles. Teams of two must team up and choose literally any game played with marbles, and based on all of the rest of Squid Game, you can probably guess what happens to the person who loses. Gi-hun partners with Il-nam when nobody else will. But this game of marbles comes with a particularly evil twist.
A player who manages to take all 10 marbles from their partner wins.
The fact that the members of each team are playing against each other to the death is only disclosed after the friends team up. Throughout the game, Il-nam seems to be experiencing memory issues as he's suffering from some sort of ailment.
Sir, he's not in his right mind, sir. I think he's got dementia.
Ultimately, Gi-hun is forced to take advantage of Il-nam's confusion to win the game. Though Il-nam obviously isn't killed by the guards, he's shot off screen and reappears to tell Gi-hun the truth in the season finale. His choice to let Gi-hun beat him is seriously confusing.
What a great way to go. Really?
Did Il-nam basically rig the game in that moment to ensure Gi-hun would win? Why? Was he just tired? Unclear! There's another surprise reveal at the end of Season 1, and it concerns Junho, who infiltrates some massive compound where the game takes place to try and find his brother, whom he thinks may have been killed in a previous iteration of the competition. After masquerading as one of the guards, Junho makes a genuinely shocking discovery. The front man is his brother, In-ho, and In-ho actually won the game at one point. In-ho tries to get Junho, who's a detective, involved with the sinister operation, but when Junho refuses, In-ho shoots him in the shoulder and sends him tumbling off a cliff. Early in Season 2, we learn that Junho spends months in a coma as a result.
You need to show some evidence, Junho. There was the round stuck in your shoulder, but we couldn't trace the bullet. That's all you had.
So, why does In-ho do this? Why would a former winner choose to run the whole sadistic enterprise? Not only does this not make a whole lot of sense, aside from the fact that it's a huge twist, but it only gets weirder in Season 2, when In-ho does exactly what Il-nam did and joins the game as Player 1. There's no reason given as to why any of this happens at any point, which makes it all feel absurd. When we get our final glimpse of Gi-hun at the end of Season 1, he's at the airport in Seoul, ready to board a plane to Los Angeles, hoping to reunite with his daughter. And though he doesn't end up getting on that plane, the most surprising part of the scene might be his new look. Yes, Gi-hun makes a U-turn, undertaking a new mission to stop the games.
You can hide all you want, but I swear I'll find you.
That's all well and good, but what is up with Gi-hun's hair? For absolutely no reason, he's sporting a violently red hairdo which was clearly recently dyed, since we don't see any roots. And by the time we see Gi-hun again in Season 2, as he begins to execute his plan, his hair is back to normal, so to speak. So, why go red in the first place? Actually, there's an answer to this one. During a Luca Comics event, series creator Hwang Dong-hyuk explained that the color was inspired by Hanamichi Sakuragi, a character from his favorite anime, Slam Dunk. But there's even more to it. As he explained, that's a symbol of not being normal anymore. He's not an ordinary man. He's been through those cruel games and experiences. He's lost a lot of friends and people, so he's trying to get back to normal life, but he cannot. That red hair is like a symbol of his abnormality. As to why he changes it back, still a plot hole. Aren't South Korean police worried about the fact that on an apparently annual basis, over 400 people simply vanished from society?
So you're saying that your kidnappers rounded up hundreds of people and had them play a game?
One would think that after some time, that kind of thing would raise some eyebrows, but aside from Junho, who has a personal reason to investigate the games, nobody seems to notice anything amiss. This feels incredibly fishy, and you can't explain it away by saying that people desperate enough to participate in such dangerous games are loners or no good nicks or anything like that. There are almost 500 people involved in each game, and presumably at least some of them have families or loved ones who notice they're missing. It seems like maybe the South Korean authorities should look into this mass exodus of fully formed adults from society on a yearly basis. Aside from the fact that thousands of people have simply vanished from South Korea for 3 decades, there's also the fact that we don't know where the games take place, but the scale of the structures is enormous. Based on aerial shots, the competition happens on an island somewhere, but why hasn't anyone passed by and gone, hey, I wonder what that huge warehouse is and what's inside? Not only that, but the island has to be near South Korea, since a majority of the players are South Korean, so when Junho spends all of Season 2 fruitlessly looking for it, the whole enterprise feels absolutely absurd.
Where the hell are you, Mystery Island?
How is it possible that Junho and his allies could search for an entire season and not even glimpse the island from afar? How did the wealthy people behind the games find this island and build a massive structure without anyone noticing, or again, notifying authorities? It just doesn't make sense. In Season 2, Gi-hun re-enters the games, presumably to try and destroy them from the inside, and meets a whole new cast of characters, including a famous South Korean rapper who calls himself Thanos, played in an inspired bit of casting by real South Korean rapper Choi Sung-yeon, who also goes by the name T.O.P. Thanos is, to be quite blunt, very annoying.
I'll destroy anybody who dares stand in the way of my greatness.
Thanos is hiding a huge secret. His enormous cross necklace is actually a secret container full of pills. This is absurd. In that very same game, Gi-hun discovers that the tracking device implanted in a false tooth, which would have helped Junho locate the island and compound, is gone. Stranding him without any help, the false tooth was undoubtedly removed during the period of time between being gassed in the van and waking up in the dorm. So how is it even remotely possible that the guards preparing the players, redressing them in their uniforms, taking their belongings, and so on, would miss a necklace hiding a bunch of drugs? Towards the end of Season 2, a desperate Gi-hun decides to rally his fellow players and stage an uprising. The powers that be who control the game, including the frontman, strategically shut off lights at random periods in the dorm.
Once the lights go out, the ones who want to stay are going to try and come for us.
Gi-hun suggests that he and a small group of fighters hide during the chaos and ambush the guards when they come in to clean up the bodies.
Do we stand a chance?
If we can manage an ambush, yes.
His plan works to a point, especially because In-ho is part of it, while obviously working against it in his role as frontman. Because of that, and maybe its foolhardiness, considering the forces aligned against him, Gi-hun's plan is doomed to fail, and he ends up captured as the season comes to a close. Here's a problem: Gi-hun floats this plan, his allies agree, and then it just sort of happens. And while this makes sense from a narrative perspective, in that the season needs to move along in a timely fashion, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Presumably, this would have been a bit harder to pull off, but thanks to the demands of the plot, it all goes off without a hitch, at least at first. Early in Season 2, Junho and Gi-hun come face to face, and though the two men initially mistrust each other, to put it mildly, they end up joining forces to take down the games. During this meeting, however, Junho doesn't disclose that his brother In-ho is the frontman.
Player 456. Is there a man named Hwang In-ho here?
While Junho could be trying to protect his brother, if he really wanted to destroy the games, he should probably share this fact with Gi-hun and maybe show him a picture of the guy or something. That would have negated In-ho's participation in the games as player 1 as soon as Gi-hun saw his face.
All of the guards called him the front man.
You know what he looks like?
No, he...
Though some people likely chalk this up to Junho still caring about his brother, despite the fact that In-ho tried to murder him, it doesn't really pass the smell test.